Kom die erbij, pas!
Get a car! Get a car! Get a car!
We have been able to hit the most senior levels of organised crime, where it hurts most, getting people arrested, seizing their cash, stopping their distribution networks in a way that I have literally never seen before.
2:30 p.m. at Toddington Services on the M1, a place most people consider routine and safe. Passing motorists, children, families, lorry drivers stopping for a break. A delivery lorry pulls in. A car parks alongside it. 2 boxes are quickly moved into the boot. Police had been standing there for hours. 36 kilograms of cocaine inside those boxes, and another 155 hidden inside the lorry. But that drug arrest was only the door, because what followed was far bigger. A chop shop network operating in Birmingham, cars stolen to order, containers filled with stripped parts, and vehicles sold back onto UK roads that in some cases may fail to deploy their airbags in a crash. If you believe clean paperwork means safety, what comes next will make you think again. From that motorway service station on the M1, the investigation widened rapidly. This was not an isolated arrest and not a single shipment. As officers followed the movement of goods and money, the true scale began to emerge. 117 stolen vehicles were directly linked to the network. Another 107 disappeared from residential driveways within a matter of months, mainly across Hampshire, Dorset, and Wiltshire. 250 shipping containers were searched. Many were found holding stripped engines, gearboxes, electronic modules, and airbag systems. Legitimate business addresses across Birmingham were used in parallel, each serving a different role within the operation. During the raids, officers uncovered drugs worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, concealed inside a household printer. The cocaine and heroin were detected by a police dog named PD Lucky, leading to an arrest and conviction. This was not improvised crime. It was a structured operation running for years, only exposed once the pieces were connected. The turning point in the case did not come from the number of stolen vehicles or the volume of parts recovered. It came from a detail that changed how investigators viewed the entire operation. One rebuilt Volkswagen Golf had already been sold back onto the road for just over £10,000. On paper, it was a repaired insurance write-off. The documentation was clean. The vehicle drove normally. There were no visible warning signs. But when forensic examiners inspected the car, they made a disturbing discovery. The airbag system may not deploy in the event of a collision. The buyer had no way of knowing this. There were no dashboard warnings, no alerts, nothing that would raise suspicion. If an accident had occurred, the consequences would not have been financial. They would have been potentially fatal. From that moment, the case was no longer just about vehicle crime. It became a public safety issue. To understand how this could happen, investigators had to look closely at how the chop shop network actually operated. On the surface, everything appeared legitimate. The group purchased damaged vehicles from recognized salvage auctions. These are vehicles written off by insurance companies after accidents and sold legally for repair or parts. This practice is common and lawful. Mechanics, garages, and private buyers do it every day. What those vehicles provided was not just metal and panels, but documentation, legal paperwork that allowed a rebuilt car to pass checks and return to the road. Behind that legal process, however, was a parallel supply chain. Replacement parts were not sourced from certified suppliers or manufacturers. They were taken from vehicles stolen to order. When a specific engine, gearbox, electronic control unit, or airbag system was required, a matching vehicle was targeted. The car was not sold whole. It was stripped quickly. Only the required components were removed. The remainder was abandoned or destroyed. Each Birmingham location played a specific role. One for dismantling, another for storage, another for rebuilding. There were no hidden warehouses or remote yards. Everything operated from legitimate business addresses in plain sight. While the Birmingham operation quietly processed stolen vehicles, another arm of the network was active hundreds of miles away. Between February and October, vehicles began disappearing from driveways across southern England, Hampshire, Dorset, Wiltshire. The pattern was consistent. The thefts happened at night while families slept. There was no broken glass, no alarms, no noise. By morning, the vehicles were gone. In total, 107 vehicles were stolen during that period, 76 from Hampshire alone. These were not random thefts. The group targeted high-value models fitted with keyless entry systems. Using relay devices, thieves intercepted and extended the signal from a key fob inside a house. To the vehicle, it appeared the key was nearby. Doors unlocked, engines started. In some cases, signal jammers were used to prevent the vehicle from locking at all. Owners pressed the button, heard the sound, and believed the car was secure. It was not. For many victims, the loss went far beyond a vehicle. One tradesman lost his van along with thousands of pounds worth of tools. Without them, he could not work. He could not fulfill contracts or earn an income. Another victim had only just finished paying off his vehicle when it was stolen and later recovered in a stripped and unusable condition. In court, victims described not only financial loss but a deep sense of violation. Strangers had entered their property in the middle of the night without being detected. The sense of safety inside their own homes was gone. Investigators faced a key question. How had a network of this size operated for so long without detection? The answer lay in patience and coordination. Police did not rush to make early arrests. They waited to see the entire picture. The breakthrough came from a victim who used tracking data to locate his stolen vehicle at a site in Spark Hill, Birmingham. That information provided the first direct link between a reported theft and a physical location connected to the rebuild operation. Around the same time, officers revisited older cases. One involved a Mercedes SL 400 valued at around £70,000, stolen back in 2017. Intelligence gathered during the Spark Hill inquiry led police to search a garage in Digbeth. There, the same Mercedes was found still moving within the network years after it was stolen. That discovery confirmed the scale and longevity of the operation. Covert surveillance followed. Officers monitored vehicle movements, tracked individuals, and documented how parts and cars flowed between locations. Once sufficient evidence had been gathered, warrants were executed simultaneously across multiple sites in Birmingham. Body-worn camera footage showed yards and workshops filled with dismantled vehicles and components. Engines, gearboxes, and airbag modules lay across floors and workbenches. In one incident, a suspect attempted to flee as officers entered a yard. He was caught moments later when he became trapped between vehicles. With the physical operation exposed, attention turned to the finances. Investigators identified spending patterns and deposits inconsistent with legitimate vehicle trading. The case was brought before Birmingham Crown Court, where prosecutors described the operation as organized, deliberate, and sustained over years. Sentences reflected the seriousness of the offending. The individual identified as the leader received 7 years in prison. Others received substantial custodial sentences for their roles. Following the criminal convictions, confiscation proceedings were brought under the Proceeds of Crime Act. The court ordered the repayment of significant sums after defendants failed to account for suspicious deposits and assets. Meanwhile, the separate theft operation in southern England also came before the courts. 13 defendants were sentenced across 2 hearings, following an investigation involving 7 police forces and more than 12,000 hours of work. The cocaine seizure at Toddington Services was also dealt with separately. The lorry driver, a Belgian national using a legitimate haulage business as cover, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. The recipient of the drugs received 8 years and 9 months after pleading guilty to possession with intent to supply Class A substances. 3 separate investigations. 3 different criminal operations, 1 interconnected network. What tied all of this together was organization and concealment. The chop shop operated for years using legitimate business premises. The theft ring relied on technology most owners did not realize could be exploited. The drug traffickers hid cocaine inside medical-style packaging and everyday objects. Police did not move quickly because they were not trying to stop a single theft or intercept one shipment. They were trying to dismantle the entire structure. That takes time, surveillance, coordination across forces, evidence that would stand up in court. When the cases were finally concluded, the implications were clear. A vehicle can be sold legally, documentation can be complete, processes can be followed, and yet the car may still be unsafe to drive. In this case, the danger was not visible on the street. It was hidden inside the vehicle itself, behind paperwork that buyers are taught to trust. This was not simply a story about stolen cars or drug trafficking. It was a reminder of how easily criminal networks can hide behind legitimate systems, and how thin the line can be between what is legal and what is safe.